Hi everyone, welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Durling. Thank you very much for tuning in for this episode. On this episode, I review an album that hasn't been out for very long and is one of the most unexpected releases that could have come my way this year. Just a couple of weeks ago, I played, our video was Vandenberg episode that John and I did quite a few months ago. Now back when we shot that episode, I thought, well, this is one that we can shoot and have sort of in the can. I don't know if you guys know this or not, or you've probably figured it out, but sometimes I film episodes in advance that aren't likely to go out of date because I want to have a new episode for you every week. So when I filmed that episode, I said, well, this band's been dormant since 1985, 1986, and I could play this anytime that's appropriate. Well, I like being wrong in cases like this because little did I know that Adrian was planning a brand new Vandenberg lineup and album, and it's out now. And I'm going to review it. So that's very, very unexpected in the best possible way. And, it's a pick-me-up in these times. Speaking of pick-me-ups, I got a care package from
Channel 33, RPM, yeah, 33, RPM.
Sorry about that, Frank, and everybody else that had to see that. A few weeks ago, I sent Frank a care package via High Tides in St. Stephen. I sent him some 8-tracks because he started to get that 8-track sickness, and it was just a way to support High Tides, and it was a way to send stuff forward. And, no one does that, I don't think. Nobody sends packages to anyone with the expectation of getting something in return. That's not the point. If you're doing it for that, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You're doing it to spread a little cheer, spread a little goodwill. However, anyone who says it's not exciting to get a package in return is not telling the truth. Of course it's exciting. So Frank and I have been going back and forth because this took a long, long time to get here, and I understand that it's definitely not priority, but it has finally come, and this is me opening it brand new. Now, when I first got this, I asked my wife Sarah, I said, did you order any seeds? And then I turned it over. Womp womp. So, this is a live unveiling. Thank you very, very much, Frank. This is awesome. I don't know what this is other than I don't think it's records. Let's pop this sucker open here. Let's get it well taped up to handle the voyage from one end of Canada to the other, from Winnipeg to New Brunswick. What did he send me? Well, there actually are seeds with this. Frank, did you mean to... We got some seed samples here. Did you mean for those to come to me? Anyway, let's just move along. Let's see now. Get my trusty screwdriver. A screwdriver will work for just about anything. I'll dig into this box here without stabbing myself. Yeah. All right. Whoa, all right, now we're getting somewhere. All right, now we seem to be getting somewhere. There's a note in here. Maybe it's more seeds. Let's see what this is. Hey, Tim, here are some tapes for your collection. Enjoy. Tapes to add to my collection. Thanks again, Frank. Let's see what's in here amongst the pink styrofoamy things here. Oh, classic album, Doc and Back for the Attack. I didn't have that on tape. I did, but I didn't this time. Oh, yes, Cheap Trick Dream Police, an old Canadian CBS cassette. That's awesome. Let's see. Foreigner Agent Provocateur, which, because this is the way it goes, I just got from High Tides, but I'll find a home for it. And awesome Deep Purple Perfect Strangers. Didn't have this. Yes, those are very, very welcome additions to my collection. Thank you very much, Frank, and it finally came. So, a little bit of a backstory. If you didn't catch the episode a couple of weeks ago, if you're not familiar with the band, Vandenberg, it's named after their guitarist, Adrian Vandenberg, who obviously plays all the guitars, wrote all of their songs, and was, the creative force. He even designed some of their album covers because he's a graphic designer as well. They're from Holland, and they released 3 albums in the early 80s on Atlantic Records, 82, 83, 85. First album had a top 40 single in the States with Burning Heart. Adrian then joins Whitesnake in '87, and it goes on from there. The history, that's all in the episode. In probably in the last 5 or 6 years, he formed a new band called Vandenberg's Moon Kings, and they released a couple albums. I listened to the stuff, and I just could not get into it for whatever reason. It was hard rock, and there was nothing wrong with it. None of the songs I heard grabbed me in any way, shape, or form. So, that was that. And in the meantime, the unfortunate thing that happened, depending on who you believe, but apparently the 3 other members of the original Vandenberg tried to get permission to use the Vandenberg name, which is Adrian's name, and that didn't get very far. So those 2 sides there was never going to be any reunion there, which might sound ridiculous, but if you think back to the late 80s, it happened to Dokken. Don Dokken had to put out Up From the Ashes under his name and not under the band name, even though it's his last name. So it's not like there wasn't any precedent for it. But anyway, so completely new Vandenberg lineup for 2020, which is also the name of the album. And here it is. I never thought I'd see a new album with that logo on it again. So this is a really, really cool surprise. This is the vinyl version. It's on Mascot Records. And this is the Vandenberg lineup as it is now. Of course, there's the man himself, Adrian. Ronnie Romero is on vocals now. He's a name some will recognize. I have Ronnie's vocals on a Rainbow Live album from 4 years ago, where he sounds a lot like Ronnie James Dio, but he also has some Coverdale mannerisms, which makes perfect sense in the Vandenberg world. Drums are by a guy named Cohen Herfst. Apologize if I'm saying his name wrong. And the bass is Randy van der Elsen. This is Vandenberg 2020, and that's the vinyl version. And the CD I got's a deluxe version, very much like some of the recent Queensryche albums. Comes in a box like this. And before I get into the album itself, I'll tell you what comes in this deluxe package. Here's the digipack itself, which is probably what you get if you just buy the CD. This came with, of all things, a postcard. It's not something you see anymore. It's not unheard of. I've got a Bon Jovi postcard somewhere and an old Kiss one somewhere. A sticker with the album cover on it. A couple of coasters. So logo on one side, pictures of the band on the other. And I'm debating busting these out of here. I don't think that I will, though. Some Adrian Vandenberg guitar picks. So the album itself, if you're familiar with the Vandenberg sound, very melodic hard rock, not quite metal. They would do ballads and mid-tempo stuff. They do some very fast songs, though, as well. This really doesn't sound like the old Vandenberg stuff, aside from Adrian's guitar playing, which I have desperately missed. His solos are just utterly unique, and there's some really, really cool riffs. And the new stuff, it follows in line with that, but doesn't really sound like the old stuff. So, this is the booklet that comes with the CD. It's got all the lyrics and stuff. And what I think is kind of cool about this, I don't know if you noticed this when I was holding up the record, the credits are listed as if it was a movie, the way that they're written out. And so there's 10 songs on here, 9 of them are brand new. The 9th song on here is called Burning Heart 2020, which is a remake of the best known Vandenberg song, and the only one of theirs to really hit. I remember this is the first thing I heard from the album, and I wasn't very impressed. The original Burning Heart is one of my favorite power ballads of all time, ever, and I've gone on record as saying it's also my favorite guitar solo of all time. Check it out if you haven't. It's just amazing. Wish Whitesnake had actually done a proper version of it, but that's another story. But I also heard Shadows of the Night and Freight Train, which are the first 2 tracks on here. They won me over in a big way. This is just good old school 80s hard rock, what used to be called heavy metal, but it's melodic, and every song on here is just really, really good. And the Burning Heart remake is growing on me, but it'll never take the place of the original. So, if you've never checked out the original band, and you're a fan of Whitesnake, of Dio, Rainbow, 80s Deep Purple and beyond, just classic hard rock like that, I don't think you could go wrong with this. You don't necessarily have to be well versed in the back catalog of Vandenberg. This is a darn good place to start, although I would recommend digging into that back catalog as well. So, about the least expected release to come out this year. As a matter of fact, there haven't been too many I've been interested in, and a lot of them have been pushed back because of the stupid virus. So this was a nice surprise to get, and I'm very, very happy with this. Continue to crank it. The new Vandenberg album, 2020. Thank you for watching Tim's Vinyl Confessions.